All right, so let's call this meeting a town council work session goal setting meeting to order on Monday, May 19th. You have an agenda that was presented to you, and we have decided to move, well, with your permission, we're going to move the closed meeting regarding personnel matters to the beginning of this meeting as opposed to injecting it in the middle of our meeting. Do any of you have an objection with that?
No.
That's proposed? Okay. So then I would entertain a motion to go into closed meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move the town council go into closed meeting for the purpose of discussion and consideration of the assignment, promotion, performance, and salaries of employees of the town pursuant to section 2.2-3711.8.1 of the Code of Virginia.
Okay, second. There's a second? Doug Napier's not here.
No, he's hanging out in his office working.
Okay. All right, any discussion? All those in roll call? We need a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Teal.
Mr. Tebow?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Steele.
Yes.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes.
Mr. Holloway.
Yes.
Mr. Massa.
Yes.
And Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize, but we're going to go in, I don't apologize, we're just going to go in executive session. We've adjusted our agenda, probably, I would say 30 minutes, and roughly we'll come back in. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to certify closed meeting at its conclusion.
Mr. Mayor, I move the council certify that to the best of each member's knowledge as recognized by each council member's affirmative vote, that only such public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting by council, and that the vote of each individual member of council be taken by roll call and recorded and included in the minutes of the meeting of town council.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Ms. Berry, roll call, please.
Mr. Gillespie.
Yes.
Mr. Holloway.
Yes.
Mr. Massa.
Yes.
Mr. Teal.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
And Mayor Tedrick.
Yes. And Bill Seelock abstaining?
Stay.
Okay. Okay,
I recommend we take a 5-minute break.
let's take a 5-minute recess.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. Joe, Bill's back. I go ahead and get started. Wait,
Okay.
Jake will figure it out.
All righty. I wanted to start out by recognizing the fact that what we're doing here today is to start the budget process, and something that we haven't done in previous years is sit down and talk about our goals, our priorities before starting a budget. So this is basically what me and Matt have talked about, is kicking off this budget process by going through these goals. I passed out a sheet. It's the SMART goal planning form. It's the who, what, how, reasonable. This is what we're going to be trying to gauge ourselves as we develop goals. And actually SMART is just an acronym for being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So I will be, as we move through the process and start establishing goals, I will try to, if you can help me try to answer those questions of who, what, how, reasonable, expected results, and when. Wanted to go over a little bit of terminology here. First, the goal is a statement of what we want to accomplish. The objectives are the components of parts of those goals that are more specific and include performance standards. So that's what we're going to be drilling down tonight, is developing those objectives. And one other thing that we're going to tonight is a champion. Every goal that we establish tonight, we want to put a champion next to it, a council member that will take the lead and follow through and make sure that that goal is on target and on track. So as we move through this process, we start establishing those goals. If you want to volunteer to champion something, like for example, pedestrian safety, I know that's Bill Wax, so he may want to champion that, but the idea is that every goal will have a council member tied to it to lead that.
You mean to lead it from start to finish, or to be the person who at the work sessions or whatever brings it up or gets it on the agenda to be able
Point
to
of
talk
contact,
about it?
yeah. All right. Now, setting ground rules. I've got 10 of my ground rules that I think we should follow tonight. A lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, but if you can turn off your cell phones or to vibrate, it'd be much appreciated. We're going to stick to the agenda even though we're already off the agenda, but we're going to go back and talk about the agenda real quick. We're going to try to stay on topic and on time. As you know, that we developed over 17, 18 goals. My objective tonight was to talk about the top 10. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through that tonight, but we're going to try. Demonstrate mutual respect with no negative criticism. Seek first to understand. One speaker at a time. Silence is agreement. Consent. This is the idea that if you have issues with what we're talking about, please bring them up now after this meeting's closed. So silence is agreement. If you have a problem with what we're discussing, please speak up. Don't say it can't be done, because that goes back to being negative. Limit side conversations, and that leads into my jellyfish rule. This is the most important rule we have. Jellyfish, anybody can say jellyfish. What jellyfish is designed for is for if there's a side conversation that starts to happen between two council members, or if we get down in the weeds of something and we get off topic, somebody can just say jellyfish, or I think I saw a jellyfish swim by. It's just a more polite way to say, hey, we're getting off track, let's get back on track. So the jellyfish rule it's something that I came across that I thought was unique and not evasive to say, hey, let's, what you're talking about is important, but we need to take that off topic. We need to take that off site or off the meeting exactly, and talk. So that's my jellyfish rule, and we'll be interested to see if anybody says jellyfish tonight. Everybody agreeable with the ground rules?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Now, I always like to do an icebreaker to liven things up a little bit, get everybody loose before we start our goal session. And so the icebreaker, and I got it on the board there, it's introduce yourself simply with your name and an adjective that describes you. The adjective must start with the same letter of your first name. And I'll start out, I'm just Joe.
I don't think that counts.
All right, who's next?
Chris?
Chris, I'm curious.
Curious Chris.
There you go.
Gary.
Serious.
Gary,
No,
Serious.
gotta start with G.
Got to start with a G.
Got it. Oh.
Gorgeous Gary.
Let's do that.
All right, we'll go with that. What do you got, Bill?
Bill. Bold.
Bold Bill.
Oh, man.
All right.
I'm gonna use my real name, Eugene, energetic.
Energetic, all right.
Jake? Jokester. That's Jokester. How about Jokester?
Be an animal's name.
Jokester Jake?
I'm gonna go with my nickname and say Talkative Tasha.
Talkative Tasha. And we can't let the mayor off.
Oh yeah,
Manic Matt.
on a Monday.
Mean Matt?
Yeah,
Mad Matt?
Bad man.
I've had them all.
All right.
Yeah, we can go down the line.
Say it again.
All right. Y'all have gotten the list of priorities that everybody got back with me. I'll use yours, so Tasha, from January, February, and integrated on that. As you can see, what the rankings are of the top 17. The idea, when I originally put the schedule together, was we were going to take 15 minutes per goal area for the top 6 and do 10 minutes for goal 7 through 10. Now that was when I had another 45 minutes. But I don't want to shorten discussion on these top goals. So with your pleasure, I'd like to stick to 15 minutes at least for the top 3 goals. Let's see what we get accomplished and we can adjust time. So the goal is to get to the 10 tonight if possible. Okay.
Just for a matter of public record, I didn't weigh in on the Valley Health pilot ranking. And if that is something that comes up for discussion, My silence would be more abstaining from conversation, not in agreement.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. So, to get it in, I'm going to ask Jennifer to keep track of my time. All right, so 15 minutes. The first goal area number 1 is the Afton Inn. So, the reason I put areas is because a lot of these, like for instance, the top 3, Afton Inn, the EDA, and streets and infrastructure, are so broad. So, but let's stay on task and let's stay on point. So we'll go ahead and start our time. And first subject is Afton Inn. Who wants to start? Jay?
I think up to date, I believe where we are is either find a solution with the current property, as in we own it, turn it over to the developer, or do we turn it into a parking lot? It seems like this council's been on the same page of this is our last ditch effort to get this done and we want to move towards resolution. And if not sure what other options are with it. So it was my understanding that we're moving this to a point where we're going to get it over the finish line or make a decision as a group on what to do with it. So I would like to continue following that path.
Joe, would it be helpful to give some fact patterns on this first, on the Afton Inn?
Facts as in where we're at today.
Right.
Yeah. We are currently discussing with the EDA, if I'm correct on this, Matt, about possibly working out a deal for the town to take back. We're looking at the possibility of the town taking back ownership of the Afton Inn and taking control of the redevelopment of that project. That is where we're currently looking at what the feasibility is and how do we get from where we're at our current condition to over to that fashion.
Where are we at in that discussion? Where are we at in that?
Yeah, so I have asked our town attorney to draft an MOU and get it to the developers to see if it'd be amenable. And then once they kind of come to their verbal understanding of what they think is reasonable, present it to you guys, you present it to council, get your feedback, and figure out if that's the path forward or not. What the concern was about getting council input early, meaning I could have Doug present the MOU to you first, and then take it to the developer, but you're not going to know what they're willing to accept or not. So I'll handle it any way you guys want, but the bottom line is, I think Joe's right. You made a very clear point the last time we discussed this, that council was not going to loan or morally obligate or co-sign a loan with the EDA in order for the EDA to keep the property. The EDA, I believe, is going to be receptive to having the title of the property be deeded back to the town, but the developer still needs financing, so we have to come up with financing to finish the project for the developer and then figure out a way to get our money back. So that's the nuances of it all. Is that accurate, Joe?
Yeah, that's correct.
There's very bad situations, there's bad situations, there's not so bad situations, there's barely good situation, and that's where we're at with this thing.
Which one of it? Barely good?
Right now, we're at barely good, because to be honest with you, the town government's not in the business of loaning developers money to do a project. But it's gonna be our project, meaning we're gonna own the building during the construction phase, if that's the option that's chosen. If left the way it is, in my opinion, that building's gonna sit like that for 3 to 5 years. Until all this stuff with the EA gets unwound. The other option is get the property and tear it down. Well, the EDA is out $500,000 for the money that they've already spent. They're likely not to want to deed it over to us if there's no chance for them to recoup their money. So.
But either way, they're going to look to recoup their money. We're going to be out the money we're loaning the contractor until the finish of the project.
Until the finish. That's right. That's my thought. So, and we can talk about the details of this another time. But so the who?
So the goal is to
Complete the project?
Right, to
get ownership of the property,
Yeah, so,
get title.
right. So we want to definitely take ownership, is that?
Yeah, I think it would,
Right.
Well, I would, let me say, I agree with that to a point. But if we've already exhausted everything that's a possibility of the EDA getting the money to finish the project.
It's my understanding that the only way that will happen is if the town morally obligates for that loan.
Well, see, I didn't hear that last Thursday night. I thought I heard them say they were still working with the contractor. Now, I might have been wrong, but I thought I heard.
Working with the contractor to pay him what's already owed.
yeah.
Well, I didn't hear that part. I thought it said that they were still working with the contractor, but the question was asked.
I've had
That
two
they were
meetings,
still
I've
working
had two
towards
meetings
the
with
goal.
EDA. In both meetings, they said the only way is to, the last one was that Dan Witten actually said it, the only way is the town morally obligate.
So the first goal is develop a plan to take ownership of the afternoon. By what date?
I don't see any downside to taking it back. Am I missing something?
Well,
Yeah, I don't either.
you sure don't want to, you sure don't want to take it back and leave it like that?
No, if we take it back and if we don't, if we can't
Yeah.
afford, or we can't find a way to finish the project, then I say let's just take it down. I mean, if not, it's gonna sit there for years. It's been,
Yeah.
I mean, no one's gonna do anything with it. You keep hearing everybody up in arms about finish it and then this, that, but nobody's coming up, with any money. So that's what they don't understand. We don't have the money.
So is the goal, council needs to develop a strategy for the afternoon?
Either that, yeah.
So what you're saying is take it back, finance. That's, if you're gonna take it back, we gotta finance. That's what you're getting at, okay.
So the goal will be to develop a plan to take ownership of the afternoon. No, yes.
Works for me.
One question though, the contractor had an agreement to finish this project and assume ownership, if I'm not mistaken, of the property within a 5-year period. Am I right?
5-year period with 5-year option.
Now, how can we obligate them to come up with money within a 5-year period if they don't have money or whatever? Would their terms with the EDA still follow true with us?
Wait, no, and I think Matt hit it right in the beginning, that the EDA has no problem transferring ownership, but they do want to recoup their investment. So there's some fashion or manner we're going to have to deal with that issue, because they have invested, I think, almost less than $500,000 already on this project.
So really what you're saying is, one, we gotta develop a plan for the afternoon. 2, we gotta negotiate the terms with the EDA. 3, negotiate the terms with the developer.
But you're wanting to know if we have the appetite to take it back in finance. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing, right?
I think
I'm not interested in that.
You want the EDA to hold it?
And
What's the
reason I say
difference
that
whether
is-
you have the EDA do it or we do it?
I think if we do it, it'll get done. I think the EDA always won't do it, it'll never do it.
Well, I'm still concerned from the standpoint when they first approached us, the contractor. They told us they had the money to do the project, but the only difference was the EDA had that 5-year limitation. And the second point being that they could get a loan at a low interest rate. And that's what has turned backwards for the developer. Because now, instead of paying $2 million, they're gonna be looking at 3.5, or some figure. I don't know what the real figure is.
Well, again, my problem is basically, if we get it back and then we're still obligated for 500,000, we still don't have anything. We don't have nothing but a shell.
Yeah. Why doesn't EDA take ownership of the project like they have a MOU and finish the project?
Because they can't get
They don't have
financing
money.
for the project without the town government being obligated for it. So if the town government's obligated, we might as well
Well,
control it.
Right.
also, if we end up, assuming ownership of the property, we don't have to deal with the same contractor. Am I right? If we assume ownership of the property, wouldn't we have to put it out for bid?
I would imagine, but that's not my question. But my question is, if we take it back, are we gonna be obligated to pay the EDA $500,000 back?
Well, if we
And if
end
that's
up,
the case, I'm not interested.
well, I know the
Because they're the
thing,
one got us in the hot water to begin with. Yeah, I'll take it back on this condition
Jellyfish.
that there's no,
yeah, I think we all agree. I mean, several things.
If we can get it back and work out the terms, I think they would have the appetite
Right.
to get it back and work out the terms of it. But
Yeah, I think we're in the weeds on it.
We
Yeah.
So in other words,
yeah, I agree.
I agree with Gene. I mean, we gotta figure out,
You
the
develop a
terms
plan.
of, all this is very, it's still too fluid.
Right.
So
but it is
The
a goal of
afternoon-
council.
the goal of council is to result, and get the EDA, get the afternoon developed. That's the goal of council. So we gotta develop the plan to do that. And if we have to negotiate with EDA, negotiate with the developer, that's when we come back and get council's feedback.
And get that rolling now, like get it rolling.
It is
I think that's the goal.
It's
is to-
already rolling.
I'm sorry, to get activity on the afternoon rolling, whatever it
As
is.
soon as
we need to
possible,
do.
yeah, within,
So that's why I said the EDA has to have priorities set, and we have to be in the priorities.
So,
All I've heard since
jellyfish,
this EDA went down is the county's priorities.
do we want to
This has to be one of the priorities.
That word's gonna be
What
like
do
a
you
cuss
need,
word
Joe?
today.
All right.
what do you need?
Do we, yeah,
Eric?
I'm not, I mean, I think it's the council's goal is to do something with it, but, I think the direction of us, assuming.
So maybe the goal is develop an action plan
Yep.
to redevelop the afternoon and,
Or make a park.
hmm,
I said, or make a park out of it.
yeah, I
We can't
mean,
do
yeah,
anything
so
else.
really,
I don't even know what we're talking about there.
I mean, that would make national news. Copies of it.
so we're gonna develop an action plan to redevelop the afternoon by,
January?
September 15th.
What?
September 15th.
Yeah, I think a plan has to be in place, yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
September 15th. All right,
He's the champion.
I'll champion it
Matt will champion.
till I'm going.
Man,
Okay.
I like it.
Everybody good with this? This is gonna hinge on everything. This, when we develop this action plan, it should address everything. Either us taking ownership or trying to find some resolution with the EDA to get it resolved, but to find something.
But status quo is not acceptable. That's the fact. Unanimous support.
All right,
All right, what's next?
Lawsuit, EDA.
are we good with the afternoon?
I think I've done that.
This really covers it all now. We'll probably have to come back and drill down further once we develop the action plan. Okay.
That's what I
Now the E EDA.
We need to be careful what we say here.
So we have three things here: lawsuit, financing, local EDA. And part of this has just been addressed with our joint meeting, right?
I think so.
A little bit, I think.
Yeah, what I did here is that there were multiple lines of areas for EDA, and I just kind of clumped them up because, to be honest with you, they all came 2, 3, 4. So,
Okay.
I'd like to start with this.
all right.
I think we need to find finances to be able to get back in the EDA as far as appointing members.
Okay.
If we restructure it somehow, I think the town needs a bigger footprint with what's going on with day-to-day action.
It would be,
Without question.
it would be my hope that this Economic Development Reform Committee would help to develop some type of parameters and the future steps for the EDA. I mean, that was what my impression and thoughts were on what this committee was supposed to do.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So I think the action item, that's what you're looking for, right?
Yep.
The reform committee needs to meet.
Right.
I mean, that's the action item, and then we need to wait and see what comes out of that meeting to determine our path forward. In the meantime, we have a civil suit still in place. What more action is needed at this time?
I think the public meeting was discussed about the EDA, county, town attorney
Having a meeting?
having a meeting as well.
Yep.
And I think we still need to discuss our intent behind that, this group, as part of that EDA lawsuit portion. But the committee, I agree with everything Matt just said. And I just talked to Jennifer today, but she sent out 2 proposed dates and times within the next week or so for that group to get together.
I've heard back from everybody except one.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about next?
The committee's meeting, that's going to address the, I think it could address the local EDA, the solution of the EDA, restructure of the EDA, how we appoint people or whatever. I think it takes care of a lot of that. There isn't any project financing for the EDA because there's no available money, and the last thing on that's the lawsuit.
The litigation.
Yeah.
So, as it relates to this EDA legal issue, the attorneys are going to meet for the town and county with the
And EDA.
managers, right?
Town, county, and EDA.
Just the attorneys,
Right.
right? And then they're going to try to develop their legal, not plan, but
They were going to discuss
at least their legal, how they're going to move forward from a legal standpoint.
can we move forward from a legal standpoint as 3 bodies together.
So here's a question I've had and a concern I've had. This issue is so large, the volume of the legal matters is just so large. I'm concerned about our county attorney solely being responsible for this, for handling all this. I think at some point we're
Town
going to
or county?
Or town attorney, did I say county?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, town attorney. I think we need to seriously consider outsourcing the whole EDA with Doug in a major support role, but I'm just concerned with the amount of time. I mean, he's overwhelmed. He came in and worked all weekend.
I've been vocal about this. I'm supportive of that, particularly as the 3 bodies are going to get together and start talking strategy. I think it's a great thing, but also want to make sure that we know all of our options and are protecting our interests.
Well, I've opposed that due to the fact that financially, I don't think we're able to pay an attorney $400 or $500 an hour to get that involved in an EDA problem that we've already into already. I think if we get into this mess, we're going to be more involved and spend more money in trying to do nothing than what they owe us already. I see no value at this point until we know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a point well taken. I think we wait until the lawyers, I guess EDA, the lawsuit, maybe a lawyer meeting between the 3 bodies.
Right.
And
I
then
thought the gist of the 3 lawyers meeting was to determine if we could do it jointly, which would request us to back off and then go at it jointly.
And on the second one, project financing, I think that is required what we owe them. That's what you're referring to with the Leech Run Parkway, all the others.
Right.
Until we get something back from them, it said, 2 weeks or something of that nature. And I talked to one of the persons on the EDA the other day, said, I don't understand the issue. They could get that right from their auditors immediately. And I didn't say any more. I left it go with that. But if one of the EDA members thinks they can do that, why can't we get it?
Well, we do have a meeting tomorrow with EDA, mainly focused on the PD finances. But we do have a meeting with them on tomorrow, so hopefully we can get some issues and some answers.
To me, that is the main focus here, to me, right at this point. What do we owe, what do they owe us, and so it goes from there.
Yeah, so, yeah, project financing. So,
What about communication?
That's good.
communications,
Yep. Town council should meet with the EDA on some kind of schedule and get these things resolved.
We're gonna have a couple more meetings of town, county, and EDA, right?
Yeah, we're trying to have one the 27th of August, but that's gonna have to get pushed back a week.
Forward or move back?
Forward.
That's what I thought.
The one particular question, back to the lawsuit component of it, was the three attorneys meeting, and I've always still, I think that those three attorneys are gonna develop a strategy which may or may not be something that we like, and that's why I went back to, again, kind of having outside counsel as part of this to collaborate with Doug. I guess it's more of a question for you, Mr. Mayor, is I think I'm at this point where how do I get this council to make a determination on whether or not we have the appetite to do that? Because county did it. You heard Mr. Stanley mention that they've spent less than $10,000 on outside counsel. And that's their reason for putting Mr. Witten over in the EDA. I've been talking about this for over a year now, and I want this council to put out a vote that says either we want this or we don't, but it's never gone any further. So how do I
I
make
think
that
the
happen?
time, personally, you asked me and I'll open up to council, I think the time to have that vote would be after you have a meeting and after the attorneys come together and they kind of come to a consensus of either we're not going to do this together or we are going to do this together, or the consensus might be we're going to do this together and we need to outsource it to another law firm. I think that'd be the time to figure out, because from our civil suit that we have filed, I've been told by our town attorney, we're just holding. We're locked in. We have locked in our position from a statute of limitation perspective. So there's not a lot of effort, not a lot of legal effort needed for Doug for that. The legal effort for Doug would be, are we going to go after other parties? And that's where if the county decides to join and the EDA, joins, then we may need to go out and get a different law firm.
What I'm worried about is a recommendation for dropping our suit in order to body together and have confidential information. I'm worried about that recommendation.
But the only reason, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, you're here, right? In the back. If you missed, you had the tapes, right? Or you listened to those tapes of the meeting, the joint meeting. So if my recollection is incorrect, please correct me, but the only time it became a conflict for as it relates to the suit, was if we use Sands Anderson, which is the EDA's current attorney. They can't share information with us if we're still in civil litigation. If the three bodies decided to use law firm X, there's no conflict of interest. So we can proceed.
But we wouldn't be privy to. Okay, you're not.
You just wouldn't be privy to the Sands, whatever information they have.
I'm okay with that, but
I think you're looking at end of September, early October. We're gonna have that vote.
okay.
So EDA at this point,
we got the reform committee that's handling one thing. We got the lawsuit, we got the meetings going along with the lawyers.
you got the project
Project
finance,
financing, we got a meeting tomorrow.
joint attorney, joint
Yeah.
legal strategy meeting.
Yeah. So really all these are pretty much driven already. I don't know if you want to try to develop some additional goals beyond what these three are already doing, but
These are good.
these are basically already established in some degree. These already have deadlines. EDA Reform Committee has some deadlines. We already have a joint committee. I don't know where Doug is. I'll have to ask Doug where he is with meeting with the other two lawyers, but,
My impression is we're gonna take initiative every step of the way on this. We wanna get it.
And we need a resolution on, the police department financing rather than just broad project financing.
yeah, we
I
actually.
mean, that's immediate.
Right, and the immediate is what I was telling you. We have a meeting tomorrow with EDA, BJ, and staff have a meeting over there for we can find some resolution for the PD financing. So they have taken heed to our concern and needing that information, so hopefully we can get all this resolved tomorrow. Or at least get first step moving forward.
So as far as champions, we have myself, Doug, and BJ.
Yep.
I know you said council members, but
Yeah.
I didn't. That's a big one.